I'm going to go over why I use Invesco, okay? So our company brings on a lot of great companies, okay? We got tons of mutual fund companies. Got Legg Mason, we got Franklin Templeton, we got American, we got Invesco, we got a lot of companies you can use, and they're all good. I'm just letting our group know why I chose, to use Invesco primarily. Number one, their relation with us is like for 30 years. They've worked with Primerica for 30 years, and so has Legg Mason has worked with us forever and ever and ever too, okay? And other companies have too. They understand Primerica. They understand our business and what we do. They understand how we're so ethical and moral, and that the majority of our clients are our relatives and close friends. They are one of the 10 largest investment companies in the world, one of the 10 largest in the world. They have 750 investment managers. 750 investment managers in 22 different countries. They're a global company. They have won tons of Lipper Awards. A Lipper Award means you were ranked number one in that category. Not that you were in the top 10%, or you were ranked number one in that category. And, to me, the best training that I've gotten, okay? Legg has brought me great training as well, but to me, I've learned the majority of all these presentations that I've used here, I've learned with the rep that I've used over the years with Invesco. So I would urge you all to grow a relationship with whoever your rep is, whoever you're using, whether it's Invesco, Legg, Templeton, American Century, Pioneer, whoever else. There's a whole list of them, okay? Whoever you're using, we use these guys, so grow a relation with your reps. And over time, you're going to learn more than if you had no relation with rep. Now, newsflash, if you're not opening accounts, those reps aren't going to really spend a lot of one-on-one time with you, okay? You have to be actively working the business so that they want to invest time with you, okay? So that's just my little spiel on that. The next thing in your manual are our investment portfolios, okay? So now, every investment company out there has created their own investment portfolios, okay? So I don't want you to think this is the only one. And actually, the investment company did not create this one. I did. I created this myself personally. I spent weeks and weeks and weeks of doing research, running illustrations. Their product specialist at Invesco, I'm very close with him. I ring him up whenever I want. I ask him questions on this mutual fund, that mutual fund. He knows everything because that's his job. He's the product specialist. He knows about every mutual fund, who runs it. He knows everything, all the ins, all the outs of it. And what I have done is I created these portfolios. Let me explain why I created them. Because when I was newly licensed, I can remember, I was newly licensed, and Mrs. Johnson from across the street, she's, Omar. I was like leaving the neighborhood. Omar. Yeah. Hello, Miss Johnson. Your mother told me that you were investment licensed. Well, yes. I was licensed last week, as a matter of fact. Oh, that's great. Listen, I got some money that I need you to invest for me. When could we meet? I said, how about, tomorrow? That'd be great. Okay, great. So I leave. I'm going, oh, my gosh. What am I going to do? I'm licensed, but I have no clue what I'm going to do. And this is my neighbor. If I screw it up, I got to look at her every day. I got to look her in the eye. This is a lady that's known me since I was 1 year old. I'm stressing. I'm sweating bullets, just scared to death. I wish this was in place then. Okay, it wasn't. Now Primerica and the investment companies have all created their own. Okay, but when I was newly licensed 20 years ago, nobody had this. There was no Morningstar, Thomson Reuters. There was probably in the industry, but we didn't have it, you know? We've evolved a lot. Primerica has really evolved. I mean, they're moving in the right direction in every area. It's just unbelievable. But so years ago, I created this thing where I need a way where a new rep could have confidence in what they're doing, what they're bringing to their clients, so that they don't have to worry the way that I worried with Mrs. Johnson. Actually, Mrs. Johnson is a client with me still. She's 90 years old now, lives in the exact house, right? I drive up in, you know, the 100 grand plus car now, and, you know, she goes, you've made it, huh? I'm like, yeah, kind of. Okay, so the hardest part of it was creating these portfolios, the ones on your left, because they're for a smaller client, and you want to give the smaller client the exact help as the larger client. But the problem is they got less cash, you know, to invest. And so when you have less cash and you want to give them small cap, mid cap, large cap, international, growth, value, you want to give them all those things, and they're like, I got $100 a month. Okay? So one of the reasons I chose Invesco is the smallest amount that you're able to invest in one of their mutual funds is what? Does anybody know? $25. At one time, they were all like that. And Andy, we ought to ask home office, you know, to work on that, right? Because a lot of them have raised the number, and so you could use less investment accounts, and so you really can't spread it out as much as you'd like to spread it out. Because one thing that I learned after 08 and 09 is that if you're not properly allocated, you're going to get hurt. And I don't want to hurt our clients, right? So let me just give you an example. And you could write this in because it isn't written there, or you could write it on your notes or something. But the small, let me large here for you. So let's just look at high growth silver. Now, if you notice, I got silver, gold, and platinum, because everybody loves recognition, right? It's true. So here, the Invesco equally weighted S&P index fund, listen up, has how many stocks in it? 500 stocks. And you know what they are? Half of them are large cap, half of them are mid cap. Then the small cap equity fund has 101 stocks. And you know what those are all? Small caps. And then the Invesco European Growth Company has how many stocks? 69. So with a client that invests just $100, if we split half of it in equally weighted, 1/4 in small cap equity, and 1/4 in European, we are giving them a total of how many stocks? 670. No overlap. Meaning, the ones that are in the Invesco small cap are not in the equity, the equally balanced. It's a small cap mutual fund. Well, that's all they got are small caps. The S&P one, half of it is large cap, half of it is mid cap, and the European one is international. So with $100 split up like this, exactly the way I've laid it out, the client has 1/4 of their money in large cap, 1/4 in mid cap, 1/4 in small cap, and 1/4 international. If you explain that, you know, a client, they're going to be like, whoa, that's pretty awesome. How many people do you think spend that time with a client investing $100 a month? Nobody but us. And that's why we'll probably recruit them, and we'll get names from them, and we'll get referrals from them, and we'll bring value to them. So look, these portfolios, silver, I mean, really, you want to tell them how much a month? 75. But you could do how much a month? 25. If you do 25, I broke it down. You see right here? Let me zoom in a little bit more so you see. If you're doing a quarter to how much? $50, where do you invest it? In VADAX, which is equally weighted. The next 25 is invested in SMEAX. That's the small cap. And the next 25 is invested in the AEDAX. I've idiot-proofed it. And I don't mean to use the word idiot, but I don't know what other word to use. I've proofed it. There's no way possible you can look at that and be like, what do I do? If you know how to do a risk questionnaire, which we will train on, okay? All you got to do is you got to match the risk questionnaire with what category are they? High growth, growth, moderate growth, conservative growth, income. So all you got to do is link them up. It's like when I was a little kid, we had, what was those clothes outfits where they were animals and garanimals, right? Garanimals, where they had nice shirts and nice shorts, and if they were on the tag, if they were a giraffe, they matched. If they were a turtle, they matched. Am I the only one that wore garanimals? Raise your hand if you wore garanimals. Chris is with me in the back. Thank you, Chris. Okay, now watch. Now watch, okay? Look at this. So if you went in the growth, how many stocks in the growth? If you went in the moderate growth, how many? 408 stocks and bonds. If you went in the conservative growth, over 1,000, because it's stocks and bonds, and there's a lot of issues of bonds. And if you went to income, 1,949 stocks and bonds spread out. For $100 a month, we are providing education that nobody provides. And what else are we providing? Diversification that nobody else applies. And with great track records, which we'll look at in a minute. Any question? Now, wait, let me just show you here. If you went to the gold, this is normally when I would use gold. If you have a lump sum amount of what? 50,000. If you got 20,000, use silver. I want to give them gold. And you let them know, when you get to 50,000, we'll move you to gold. It's like that recognition thing. Because you know what they'll want to do? They'll want to get to 50,000. And then when they get there, you're like, hey, that's a great portfolio. But there's a platinum one. I don't know if you knew about the platinum one, but the platinum one, you need $250,000. And really, the reason is the more spread out you are, the less fluctuation you get, the more even-keeled it is, and probably the lower rate of return that you get over the history of it because you're more spread out. Okay? But with a larger client, that's what you want. With the smaller clients, you want more aggressive stuff. Now, this is if they score high growth. Now, watch. Here's another thing I want you to understand. How much every month would you need in order to use gold? 300. You can't use gold with less than 300 because the way they're spread out, like example, this one you invest how much? 10% of 300 is what? $30. That meets the minimum requirement in the mutual fund. So if you had $180 a month and you wanted to use gold because you're not listening to me, $180 at 10% is how much? $18. That's under the minimum you're allowed to invest in the mutual. So there's a reason that I did that. Where's Bailey at? Michael Bailey. I know he's up here somewhere. Michael Bailey's probably in the bathroom or somewhere, I guess. But he just went out the other day, and he's newly licensed, and he closed one for $300 a month. He said, hey, coach, I already closed them life last month. Now I'm closing the investment. I said, all right, great. I said, did you know that off of that $300, you made approximately that much money? Now, I'll explain later how we get paid and all that. He goes, yeah, $5. I go, yeah, but that's every month. You worked one time. You were there for 1 hour. You made that much. You go, yeah, $5 an hour. That's every month. So if you did a good job for that client, he's going to be with you for 20 plus years. So figure $60 a year times 20 years. You just made $1,200. You didn't earn it all right now. I said, but what if you opened up 100 of those accounts? Now, what do you make a month? $500 a month. If we could get people to learn the matrix, or for whatever investment company they use, they have one, okay? And people get comfortable with it, and they're talking about it, it breeds confidence. And the more confident you are, the more you're going to work, the more you're going to open accounts, you have that residual income coming in. Those recruits are never quitting the business. But if you can get your people investing on a regular basis and get them to get their client, you don't have to worry about, that's why it's so important that the minute they're life licensed, that you get them investment license right after. It's free, number one, F-R-E-E, free. I mean, this room is all licensed, but like Julio just was licensed yesterday, right? Yesterday. Good job by Julio. And Mimi, where is Mimi Rowan? Mimi in the back right there, just licensed yesterday. Mimi Rowan. And Chris Rivera, raise your hand, Chris. He's in the back, licensed this week on Wednesday. Like it's free, folks. So if you want to grow a business, I got newsflash for you. If you got nobody investment license on your team, when the renewal comes on their life license, they're going to probably quit. Like, man, I had 20 licensed people. Now I got 9. What happened? They quit because they're not making no money. But if you get them life and investment license and you get them using their investment, they're not going to quit the business. You could grow your business over a long period of time. Okay, how's everybody doing? With a little bit more energy, how's everybody doing? Good energy, man. I like it. I like it. All right, so listen, let's get back to building portfolios, okay? So let me explain to you the way this ought to work, okay? You got high growth, you got growth, you got moderate, you got conservative, and you got income. One of your clients, your clients is in one of those allocations, okay? All right, so high growth is all stocks. When you're a high growth investor, now we're going to review a risk questionnaire, how to do it, how to answer the questions so that you know where your client lands. I just want you to know high growth means all stocks. So when you own an all stock equity investment, equities is just another word for stocks, okay? That's 100% in stocks. Growth is 85 stocks and the rest is in bonds. Moderate is 65 stocks, 35 bonds. Conservative is split, half stock, half bonds. And income is 30 stocks, 70 bonds. Okay, so you need to know why that is. So the more bonds that you add in the mix, the less fluctuation the investment tends, to have over time. Example, if you were to chart high growth one, it'd look like this. You'd have a lot of ups and downs. It's like almost like ready, clear, EKG machine, right? But if you notice the trend is up. But in order to get to that point, you'll live through a lot of ups and downs. So if you're a risk person, you like aggressiveness, you're young, you have a lot of years, to go, you can live with all the ups and downs. When the market's down, you're okay with, like with me. In 2009, we lost half of our net worth, and I have a large net worth. And so it went down. I didn't lose it, it just was worth half. So that whole year, I kept investing money. I'd invest 20 grand that month. The next month, it was worth 11. I'm like, oh man, it's $9,000 I could have went to Vegas with or something, man. But I'm accumulating what? Shares. And I knew eventually it'd go up again. I invest another 20,000, it'd be worth 12,000 next month, right? And I just really, just knowing what I know, no matter what the media tells you, the world's ending. Look, if the world ends, who cares? You lose. But if they're wrong and the world's not ending, eventually what goes down in a mutual fund, not a stock. Remember, an individual stock can go down and never go up again. But a mutual fund that's spread out amongst many industries, small cap, mid cap, large cap, international, eventually is going to go up. So I just kept them. And man, I made a lot of money off of that year. Tons of money. Okay, so that's high growth. If you went all the way down to the income, that chart would kind of look like this. Do you notice there's a big difference there? Okay, now if you went in the middle, it probably look a little bit more like this. And then growth is in the middle of that, and conservatives in the middle of that. But on average, here, you're going to get like those rates of return on average over the long term. Here, you're going to get between 8, 9, 10. And then here, you get 9, 10, 11, even up to 12. I let you look at one that from 1928, did 12. Now remember, in the FNA, we're quoting 9. We're not quoting, but we're just using 9 as an assumption. But if you want the higher rate of return over the longer period of time, you're going to have to live with more fluctuation in the market. Because if you're way down here, you're never getting more than that. It's just, that's not the way it's structured, okay? So the more bonds you add in the mix, all it does is it makes the ups and downs less of an up and down, like from there to there to there. You get that? That's important to get. Okay, so let's look at our training manual. What I did, I like to prove everything that I train on, like where you go, okay, I get it. So what I did is I did a 5-year example of an up market. What I did is I did an up market, I did a negative market, and I did a long time period. So income portfolio, I use gold. I use a 5-year example of an up market. Okay, so I went from January 1 of 2003, I went to January 1 of 2008. This is not up to date on purpose. I'm using an illustration of an up market. If you were lucky and you invested at the right time. Okay? So an income portfolio in an up market, look at the average rate there, 8.4. Remember, an income portfolio, how much is that in stocks? You remember? 30%, and the rest is in bonds. If you got 8.4% and you were an income investor, not aggressive, you'd be very happy. When you $500,000, I used the exact number, $500,000, even after $9,800 of charges, grew to 700,500, about 750,000 in what's the number of years? 5 years. That's income. Now, if we move on to the next one, conservative growth, we remove bonds and we add more stocks. Remember? So conservative growth is what? How much in stocks? Half of it. So if you have more stocks, this is great. You need to grasp this. If you have more stocks and the market is on an upward trend, are you going to earn more money? So this one, $500,000 went in, grew to $960,000, almost doubled. Average rate of return, look at that, 13.96%. Is any client angry at you? Remember, this is when I said, well, I'm not very aggressive, but I'm not all the way to the left either. I'm not too conservative, but conservative growth, okay? Then we move on to moderate. Moderate is how much stocks? 65, 35 bonds. So you're in an up market. Up market, $500,000 grew to over $1 million in just 5 years. Like if that would happen to me right now in the next 5 years, we'd have $12 million plus. I mean, I can't wait for that to happen. It's going to happen eventually because that's what the market does. You have great years, you got bad years, and over the long term, it all evens out, okay? Look at the rate of return on that, 15.22 in a not high growth. What is this one, remember? Moderate growth, 15.22 in a moderate growth. Are you kidding me? And I'm sure, look, you could run these with all the other investment companies. They all have them too. You just run them. I can't run a training on all of them, okay? We went to growth now. In the growth stocks, the growth portfolio, what's in stock, remember? 85%. 85% grew to $1.1 million. $500,000 grew to $1.1 million. Average rate of return, what's that say? 17.23%. Woo! Man, if you guys were here in 1998 and 99, we had investments in 98, 99 that earned 80%, 90%. We had one mutual fund that did over 100% rate of return. And there was a lot of them in that year, 1999. Obviously you don't average that, but had a hell of a year, you know what I'm saying? High growth is what in stocks? All stocks, 100% in stocks. So this $500,000 investment grew to almost $1.2 million in just 5 years. Average rate of return, what's that say? 64. So you can see that they're designed to do what they need to do. The more stocks you have in the portfolio when the market is up, it earns more money. Now, what happens when the market's down? The more stocks you have, that portfolio ought to do less than the ones with less stock when the market is down. So let's start. Let's go to income portfolio again. So look what I did. I said 5 years in a down market. So I chose January 1, 08. 5 years later, January 1, 2013. So 08 was still, the end of 07, everything was still sky high. This is like you have the worst luck on the planet Earth. Like you invest, and whenever you invest in anything, it loses money. Because in 08 and 09 is when, if you watch the media, the world was ending, the economy was collapsing, everything was bad. Okay, so you invested $500,000, your whole nest egg, $500,000 up, but you invested in income because you're not aggressive. So what happened? Well, he did pretty good. $500,000. He averaged what rate of return? 5.03, and the money grew to $500,000 up to what? $639,000. You got to try to remember, if you remember the economy those years, if you were making money, you were like, what? It's impossible. Nobody's making money. Everybody's losing. I mean, if you watch the news, that's all you heard. If you were in the income portfolio, gold income portfolio, the one that I drew out for you, that's what this isn't a what if. This is like, so if this were to, no, this is what actually happened. Now, the next one has less bonds in than this one, right? Has more stocks. The next one, half and half stocks and bonds. So this one should do a lower rate of return than the income portfolio. So if you look at it, $500,000 went in. What was the average rate of return? 4.01. Would you agree with me that that's still way more money than you get at the bank? Like you get 0.1 at the bank. Now look, it dropped $500,000. You got charged almost $10,000. And then the next year it dropped $100,000. So it dropped $100,000 because half of the money's in stocks. And the next year the market dropped. But bonds normally work inversely with stocks. So when stocks go down, generally bonds go up, hedging your investments. Why is that? Well, when stocks go down, many people that are not as educated, right, they're unloading their stocks. So as they're unloading their stocks, there's more stocks being sold than people want to buy them. So that drives the price down of the stock. It's like real estate. If there's more people trying to unload their place to live than there are people that want new homes, the prices go down. And inversely, if there's less, like if there's this one neighborhood you want to live in and there's one home listed in the whole neighborhood and you got 8 people that want the one home, that drives the price up. Logical? The exact thing happened. So in 2009, as they were unloading stocks, they were moving it out of the stocks and moving it into the bonds. So there's more people buying bonds, and so that drove the price. So that's why it hedges versus each other. But still, if you left it alone, a year later, it's almost recouped completely. A year after that, you've not only recouped, you now have earned a profit. The year after you made more, you made more, you made more. You average that versus getting one or less at the bank. Okay? But if you look with the income, it dropped less because it's more bonds. If you notice, it dropped less in year one than on the other one because there's more bonds, less stocks in it. These are all engineered to do what they need to do. That's why if you know the client's risk tolerance and you link them up with the right investment, you can't screw them up. It's impossible. If you go to moderate growth, now you got more stocks. How much in stocks? It's a quiz because I want you to learn, so answer me when I ask you. How much in stocks? Flash. I know the answer. I want to make sure you know the answer. 65. Now this ought to do less than the other one because it's got more stocks and you're in a down market. So look, what did it do? 3.6, but it still grew $100,000 over that time period versus if you left it in the bank, it would have earned nothing. But look at the drop was more deep. Look, $500,000, look at that drop. Why? Because how much is in stocks? 65%. And the market tanked. But if you left it alone, look, the very next year, it's almost recouped, and the year after that, you're up. You just got to wait. You got to understand. And you need to know if you had more money, stick it in when it's down. If you look at the growth portfolio, how much is in stocks? 85%. So watch this. Look at the drop is deeper. $500,000, you're like, man, 12 months later, you're 180 in the hole. But you still own the what? Shares of the mutual fund. They're just worth, like, watch how crazy this is. If you bought a new home and the next year the value of the home plummeted, it was like $500,000, your new house, you're all excited. The next year it dropped in value 180. Would it cross your mind to move and unload the house? No, you'd be like, well, I'll just live here longer and eventually hope that the price could. So unloading it doesn't even enter your mind. You would view that as, that's stupid. I moved in at $500,000. I wouldn't unload it now. I'm going to live here and hopefully later it's up, right? Well, why do you act like that when it's your home and not your mutual fund? It's the exact same thing, right? Are you getting that? What was the average rate of return here? 304. This is like, remember, you invested at the possible worst time on the planet. Okay, and you still got 3% while the banks are paying you 0.1%. But remember, if you're a growth investor, you're younger, you have more years, you don't need the money now. High growth, look at the drop here. 282, almost dropped in half. Oh my God. Remember, if you went over all that with your client, that dollar cost average thing, 9/11, small cap, mid cap, large cap, and all you got to do is revisit your client and explain it all over again to them and remind them. Your job is to remind your client. Okay? But what was the rate of return? 2.22, which is about 200 times, right? Or 20 times. I don't know. Either or, 20 times or 200 times. Because there are places at the bank you get 0.01%. There are those that you get 0.1%. So it could be anywhere from 20 times to over 200 times more money than you would have made leaving it in the bank. Okay, so I let you look at the worst case scenario. I let you look at the best case scenario. Would you agree over the next, say, 20 years, we're going to have some really good years in the market, and we're going to have some really bad years in the market? And I don't know which ones are good, which ones are bad. I don't have a crystal ball. But I know over time the market will go up and the market will go down. So what I did is I used every one of these, and I went back from January 1, 2003. This is the income portfolio, okay? So this is, you had good years in the market and you had bad, because 2008 and 2009 are in there, right, when the world was ending. In an income portfolio, $500,000 in 13 years. So this is now a 13-year window, okay? Income portfolio, remember, how much is in stocks in the income portfolio? 30. Look at the rate of return they got, 7.03%. Versus if you would have left it at the bank in all that time period, you would have averaged maybe 1%. $500,000 grew to over $1.2 million. That's real money. That's not, hey, if this would, no, this is actually what happened in that portfolio over those years. So that's the income. Write that down, 7.03. The next one, because it's over a long period of time, you have good years, you have bad years, but more good years and bad years ought to earn more than the income portfolio. So if you look at that one, this is the conservative. How much is in stock? Half of the money. Half is in bonds. Remember, we learned bonds is nothing more than a loan. You just learned more than I learned in my whole class about bonds, okay, in college. $500,000 grew to $1.4 million. Almost tripled your money in 13 years, investing half of it in stocks, half of it in bonds. Average rate of return, 8.2%. Is there any client, if you would have invested their money 13, what's neat that I've worked here as long as I've worked here, I have clients that have invested now with me for 20 years. 20 years, because now this is year 21, and I was licensed in year 1. So if whoever's watching this, if you're not licensed and you've worked here a year, you're not very smart. You need to go get licensed, okay? So you look at this 8.2, almost triple your money, and not even a high growth. Which one was this one? Conservative. Half of the money in stocks, half in bonds. Then we go to moderate growth. Moderate growth has a little bit more stocks, and this one actually did triple, over $1.5 million, average rate of return 8.8%. In a moderate growth fund. I don't know, if you could triple your money in 13 years, if I triple our money in 13 years, I'm going to be really rich. Can't wait 13 years to come by. No, I'll be 13 years older too, so I could wait. In my growth portfolio, $500,000 went to $1.6 million. Average rate of return 9.18%. What do you think if you told people over the last, 13 years, if you would have listened to me, like you are talking to him, I could have averaged you over a 9% rate of return? They were like, you're crazy. Did you see what happened with the mortgages and the real estate and the unemployment and the economy? Well, there it is. 9.18% in a growth portfolio, over $1.6 million. High growth, almost $1.8 million, average rate of return 9.97%, right at 10. You could round it up 0.03%. 10% rate of return over 13 years, $500,000 grew to almost $1.8 million. See, I want you guys confident. If you use these things properly and you educate your clients properly, they're not going to leave you. If you don't educate them, if you have clients leaving you, rolling it over to other places, they didn't call you, it's because you didn't, number one, grow that relation with them. You didn't provide them the education at a level that they needed. That's all it is. Because if you explain, I don't have clients just leave me. I have them leave me if they called me and they, and that's rare. That's 1 in a zillion, There's my numbers again, my zillion numbers. So anyways, then I said, let's look at income. This is your next one. I said, let's look. What if a client had $1 million, right? So look, client here has $1 million. I used gold, income, and I withdrew how much a year? 5%. So I got $1 million. I invested, look at the year, 1997. This is income gold portfolio. If you went from 1997, so look, you invested $1 million. You have withdrawn $1 million, so you've withdrawn more than you invested, and your market value today is worth $1,196,000. That's in an income portfolio. So, Mr. and Ms. Klein, let's make believe you invested $1 million with me, and I let you withdraw over $1 million, and at the end of that point, you still have $1.1 million, $1.2 million that you can leave to your kids. How would that make you feel? It's questions. It make me feel unbelievable. Are you able to do that for me? Well, I could bring you illustrations and track record, and I could bring you an investment with lower risk, longer track record, greater rate of return. If we're able to do that, if we're able to link your risk with the right investment, and I could bring a great track record, and we were able to invest $1 million and withdraw $1 million and leave them $1 million, would you like that? Yeah. Okay. Then on the next visit, you know what they want, right? You bring it to them. How do you not close that? Look at the average rate of return. What's that say? 6.27% in an income portfolio. How many years was it down under the million? And remember, they're withdrawing money every year. Watch. The million, they withdrew money right away. It dropped to 989, almost 990. But look, it's over $1 million, over $1 million, over $1 million, over $1 million, 942. Client calls you, listen, just relax. Next year, over $1 million, over $1 million, over $1 million, over $1 million, over $1 million. Oh my God, 08, 09, oh my goodness. Just relax, Mr. Client. 992, over $1 million, 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 over $1 million. So their $1 million they invested for the majority of the time was there on their statements while they're withdrawing income every year. This is what they're withdrawing a year right here. Look, it says withdraw. All these illustrations are on Thomson Reuters Pro. If you're investment license, which everybody is in this room, you log on. If we have time at the end, I'm going to review how to do that real quick. But if you don't know, work with your RVP. They know how to do it. Isn't that crazy? Look, so that was the income portfolio. So what if the client went one more level up? Look at the next one. What I use? The what? Conservative one. So $1 million went in. Look what they withdrew, $1.3 million. Mr. Client, if you could invest $1 million and withdraw $1.3 million, and your market value is $1.6 million at the end. Here's the thing, right? Listen. The more value you bring, the more valuable you are. That's why you make a lot of money. That's why you get paid. If you don't know anything, if you bring no value, you don't get paid. If you're not getting paid a lot of money and you're in this room or you're watching this video, it's because you don't bring enough value. If you invest time in learning your craft and you get real good and your value level goes through the freaking roof, you're going to get paid lots of money. Lots and lots of money. That's crazy. Look at the rate of return there, almost 8.5%. How much was in stocks? Half. How much was in bonds? Half. They invested $1 million. They withdrew $1.3 million. It's worth $1.6 million. What's the normal age you retire? 65. This is almost a 20-year deal. They're now close to 85, right? They could probably withdraw a little of that $1.6 million, leave $1 million in there so they could still get their income. Now they got $600,000. They could start helping their grandkids out, right? Open up a trust account, $100,000 for their great-grandson, their great-granddaughter. They could do some things. Man, you got to open their mind to what they can do. And I wish I was Omar's great-great-great-grandkid. Let me tell you. I wish I was. He or she or they will be way richer than I'll ever be, and I'll be really rich. Then I looked at, okay, what if the money's not in an IRA account? Hey, listen, I got this $1 million, it's not in an IRA account. You're not allowed to use but this is the Legg Mason Municipal Income Account, right? Look at this. $1 million went in. They withdrew $1 million, little over $1 million. And market value is $1.082 million. Average rate of return is what? But listen, those withdrawals are tax-free. So that's really like you withdrew close to $1.5 million out of there. You with me? Okay, because there's no tax on the interest you make. Now, if it's in an IRA account or any qualified plan, you're not allowed to use a municipal income in it. But there's a lot of people that have money that are not in IRAs. This is a great, man, let me tell you, they love, when you explain that a water plant story about you got to flush your toilet no matter what's happening in the economy, you know what, they usually laugh. Right? And then they go, you're right. And those bridges, those tolls, everybody that's using them every day, like if you work there and you live here and you don't use the bridge, how are you going to get to work? You're going to use so those are income generating municipal you give a story like that and you explain to them, this is a 20-year track record here. I think that's pretty awesome. Anybody else?